Okay, now that quick split is done, let's take the time to rename these groups. So this one we're gonna call cavity. This one we're gonna call core. And if we had any more directions, we could create new directions and called it slide or lifter or whatever. But that's just an option as well. I mean, clearly we need to have some kind of action here, and I can decide if I want to take the time to divide this all up and draw the nose of the slide, or I can just say I'll deal with it later at the mold design. Doesn't really matter which way we do it. Okay, so let's turn off the cavity faces and we'll look at just the core faces. Now what I'm about to do next is relevant for version 10. I believe in version 11 this is going to be different. I want to use close open gaps to fill in some of these seal offs, and currently in version 10 I have to unstitch this as a group in order to have a sheet body. So that's what I'm going to do. Faces, unstitch as group. Had I chose single, it would have just unstitched all these faces and you would have had a bunch of unstitched faces on the screen. As group means it's unstitching all of them and then restitching them back under themselves. So this will be one sheet body for the core and one sheet body for the cavity. Okay, so now that this sheet body has what it would consider to be an opening because it has no knowledge of the blue side being connected to the pink side, this close open gaps works very nice. I go to faces, close open gaps, new faces, and we can do these one at a time or we can do several at a time. I'll take these ones. So let's just do this group first. Small check means yes, create them, but leave me inside this tool. I want to do some more. Pretty cool. Alright, then over here I have another one. Let's do that one. Think of this as like a untrim. As long as there's logic in how to close it off, the software will do it. If there's no logic, then it probably won't do it. Okay, now we have this one here. Now again, let's think about this logically. If I tell it to close this gap, it's going to try to extend until it closes, and it won't happen. But if we flip sides, now there is logic there, isn't there? We can tell it to close this gap, and it knows what needs to happen. So I choose, again, faces, close open gaps, and we get that one filled in. Okay, so now we want to look at this one. Now again, you gotta think about this. Is there enough logic here for this to happen? it knows that this needs to close, but there's nothing here for it to close off against. So I've got to coax this one along a little bit. So we're going to go into chain, curves, composite, which is also this icon. And we're going to go across here like this. Then we're going to do faces bounded. Then we can do faces blend. We're going to blend this one and that one, this one and that one. Okay, now is there enough logic here for this to close off? Yeah, I think there is. So we're going to stitch this to that and then try it. Faces, close open gaps. And there, it did it. Okay, now we want to mirror this across to the other side over here. Probably that's symmetrical across the center of the part, but let's assume for a minute that it wasn't. One way that we could get a nice mid-plane between these two features is to use datum, plane, mid-plane, and I can bump this wall and bump this wall and get a plane dead center between them. Now for sure I can mirror across here. We're going to choose edit, copy, mirror, and again this filter here is very important. If I pick on the filter objects, it's going to want to copy the whole part. We don't want to copy the whole part. We want to copy a few surfaces. So this has got to be pressed in for surfaces. I want this one, this one, this one, this one, and these guys. Okay, and then we're at step 1. I want to get to step 2, so I middle click. I pick the plane and hit OK. Not sure what happened to my surface here. Alright, well let's edit this and we'll include that one face with it, I suppose. Okay, now I want to include this face and I can't pick it. It's because I got to go back to step 1 over here. So I go to step 1. Step 1 was selecting the faces. I'm going to include that one and then hit OK. Okay, now we're ready to do the external surfaces. So I'm going to go into, again, composite curve, and we're going to do a few chains. We're going to chain from here over to there, one from here to there, one from here to there, and then one from here to there. Okay, and we're going to do a couple different things here. First, let's go over here to parting surface, and we're going to choose external. That same command probably is up here, I think, under parting. Yeah, external. Okay, and I'm going to pick this face. Sorry, that curve. Now, this arrow needs to be pointing according to the tip, die tip. So we're going to say along Z, and we're going to make this 2 inches. Small check because I want to do it again over here. According to Z. You might need to flip it. It's a little confusing seeing this other guy up there. Let's get him out of the way. Okay, and then we also want to sweep with faces this curve right here out along the Y. Let's make sure that's in the Y direction. Yeah, okay. And then again over here in the Y direction. Okay, and then I'm going to activate the main, not the main, but rather the subassembly here, and I'm going to put on main planes. Okay, this is like the center of mold right here. And then we're going to trim faces, trim all of these surfaces to the center of the mold. And then we're going to do a plane parallel, datum plane parallel, this datum by a point at this endpoint here. Okay, and then we're going to trim again, faces trim, all these guys to this plane. Alright, and then I think we can do a blend, faces, blend here to there. Our blend is pretty forgiving. Alright, and then down here, these guys need to be trimmed to each other. So we go faces, trim, this surface, middle click, that surface, trim both, small checks, I gotta do it again. This surface, middle click, this surface, trim both, big check. Okay, and now we gotta define parting attributes. So we go back into quick split for a second. And it looks like our orange side is still turned off. Okay, we only need to worry about one side again. Now I click here on parting attributes and I box pick all these guys, middle click, and then I'm changing this to manual attachment, and I'm saying that these surfaces seal off between this group and this group, check mark. Okay, that's very important because what that does is that tells the software what surfaces are sealing off between what groups, and you'll see why that's important in the next step. Okay, so now if I turn the other half on, you see that everything is kind of here that we need in order to cut our inserts. So the next video will be adding the mold base, adding the inserts, and cutting the inserts by these cut bodies.